Today's training is to teach you how to use and support the Symantec Drive encryption software. As of right now, we have roughly 40 users that already have the software installed on their machine, and we will have about 200 users encrypted by the end of the month. Any user who has sensitive data stored on their laptop should have their drive encrypted. If you receive any calls from a user who would like to be encrypted, please have them email Sharon Biddle-Farrell. Symantec Drive Encryption is a whole disk encryption software that was created by PGP. This software encrypts the entire hard drive at shutdown and in hibernation. SLU is using this software to protect sensitive data when a laptop is lost or stolen. After both a cold boot and hibernation, the user will be prompted with a pre-boot screen for sign-on. Managed Windows machines will have single sign-on. Mac users will need to sign on at the pre-boot screen and the normal Mac login screen. Every computer needing Symantec Drive encryption must meet minimum requirements. The minimum hardware requirements are 512 megabytes of RAM and 64 megabytes of hard disk space. The required operating systems that SLU is supporting are Windows 7, both 32-bit and 64-bit, and Mac OS X 10.7x and 10.8x with Intel. Please refer to the minimum requirement sheets for unsupported disk types. Everyone should back up their data before installing the software just as a precaution. If ITS is doing the backup, we will only back up the desktop, documents, and favorites unless there is work-related media. Users will be given a document that explains how to back up their data. Allow about 30 minutes of your time for the setup, installation, and enrollment. It will take anywhere from an hour to all day for the computer to encrypt. The encryption process can be paused and resumed. No attention is required during the encryption process. Plug all laptops into AC power. The drive will not encrypt without AC power. If the laptop is unplugged during the encryption will pause automatically and resume when plugged back in. Ensure that all incompatible software is removed before installing Symantec Drive encryption. This includes any software that contains a third-party debugger, such as Advanced System Care, all file management software, and any other encryption software, such as BitLocker. The power settings will need to be adjusted to never sleep to ensure that the drive encrypts while you are not there. The installation files will be kept on the encryption website as well as on the T drive under ITS Everyone in the Symantec Drive encryption folder. The software can also be pushed by Brittany Murray or the desktop administration team. If the files are put onto a USB drive, you will need to copy them to the desktop before installing. You will start the installation just like any other software by opening the installation file. Windows may ask for confirmation to run the software. Please click Run to continue. You will then be prompted with a screen to access the license agreement. Please click I accept and then Next to continue. The next screen refers to the release notes. You may read them if you wish, but we suggest choosing Do Not Display Release Notes and clicking Next to continue. The software will then install. Upon completion of the installation, you will be prompted to restart the machine. Please click Yes. If the software is being pushed, you will start the install in SCCM, and the only button that needs to be clicked is Yes to restart. After the computer reboots, they will log in normally with their SLUnet ID and password. They may receive a Symantec alert regarding an authentication certificate. Please click Always Allow for this site. Next, they will be prompted with the enrollment screen. They will need to type in their SLUnet ID and password. This will connect their domain account with the Symantec encryption server. A backup of the encryption keys will be kept on the server to prevent a complete lockout from the computer. After the enrollment, the customer will be prompted to create a set of 5 local self-recovery questions. They are able to customize these questions as well as the answers. They can also make up their own questions. The customer is responsible for remembering and storing the answers to these questions. The ITS help desk do not have access to these questions or answers. The customers have been instructed not to store these answers in the same area that they are storing their laptop, such as in their laptop bag. All answers need to be a minimum of 6 characters. As you can see, once you select a question, you see that there are additional drop-downs. That will let them refine the question. When the customer logs into their computer after a restart, cold boot, or hibernation, they will be presented with the appropriate use screen and can press any key to continue. The customer will then see the preboot screen where they will enter their SLUNet ID and password. The first time they log in after encryption, the domain will read this computer. They will need to tab to that field, hit enter, and then choose flu from the drop-down menu with the arrow keys, and then hit enter again. They will then hit enter to log into the machine. The mouse will not work on the preboot screen. They must use the tab and arrow keys. The customer will then be prompted with the Windows appropriate use screen that they are used to seeing every day, but they will not have to log in again unless they have a Mac.
To access the Symantec Encryption Management Server, type in 165.134.100.22 in the address bar. Once at the page, you will log in with your SLU username as the username and as the password. To change your password, click System, then Administrators, then choose your username from the list, click Reset Passphrase, type in your current passphrase, which is your username, and create a new one. It can match your SLUNet password. Click Save. Then click Save again. And log out with the X in the top right corner. If the customer has forgotten their password and therefore cannot log into their computer, they will need to press the F4 key while on the preboot screen that you see here. Customers should first attempt using their local self-recovery questions that they set up during the initial install enrollment. To select Answer My Questions to log into the system, they need to press the arrow down key and then enter. If there are multiple users set up on the machine, they will need to arrow down to their username and press enter. The customer will then answer each of their questions. While they only need to answer 3 out of 5 correctly, they will still need to press enter to move on to each question, and after the last question, when they press enter, it will log them on or will let them know that they had an incorrect answer. These local self-recovery questions are only stored wherever the customer keeps them. We do not have access to any questions or answers. If the customer does not pass the local self-recovery questions, you can give them a whole disk recovery token. If the customer has forgotten their password and therefore cannot log into their computer, they will need to press the F4 key while on the preboot screen. To select Use WDRT to log into the system, they just need to press enter. The customer will now see a screen with their computer name and disk ID. These are what you will use to look up their whole disk recovery token in the Symantec Encryption Management Server. Once you provide them with the whole disk recovery token, they will type it in the box below. They do not need to worry about the dashes or capitalizing the letters. The letters will automatically capitalize. Once they type in the whole disk recovery token, have them press enter and they will be let into the system. If the customer types in the whole disk recovery token incorrectly, you will be able to go back and look it up in the Symantec Encryption Management Server. To provide the customer with a whole disk recovery token, you will need to log into the Symantec Encryption Management server. Once you've logged in, you need to click on Consumers and then Devices. Find the customer's computer name in the list below. If there are multiple pages of computers, you can use the search button. Click on the computer name to open up the Properties screen. Then click on the arrow indicator to the left of Drive Encryption. Then click on the looking glass icon on the right side of the encrypted drive under WDRT. Click OK. You will read the token to the customer. It's 25 characters long. They do not need to worry about pressing the Shift key to make it capital or the dashes. Once you read the token to the customer, click OK. If you need to give the customer the token again, you can go through these steps and it will not reset until they have a successful pre-boot login. To close out of the server, click the X in the top right corner.
If the customer changes their password while not on the SLU network, they will have to log into their computer with their old password or a whole disk recovery token until they are back on the network. If the customer has their password reset by the help desk and they are already logged into their computer, have them immediately go to password.slu.edu and change their password, and then follow one of the 2 password syncing steps. If the customer has their password reset by the help desk and they are not logged into their computer, they will need to use their old password or a whole disk recovery token to access the computer, then change their password at password.slu.edu and go through the password syncing process. If the customer changed their password, they will need to sync it with the Symantec Drive Encryption software in one of 2 ways. The first option is a Windows logoff. The customer will log off of the computer and log back on after changing their password at password.slu.edu and before restarting the computer. The Windows logon will sync the password with the pre-boot screen. If they do not do it this way, they will have to use their old password the next time they log into the pre-boot screen and then log into Windows with their new SLUNet password. Again, the Windows logon will sync their password with the pre-boot screen. If you encounter an encrypted computer that is not working properly and you are unable to isolate the issue, decrypt the hard drive and uninstall the Symantec Drive Encryption software. If the machine is inoperable and you need to recover the data from the hard drive, you will need to slave it with a machine that has the Symantec Drive Encryption software installed on it. If you want to run a system defragger, please only use the Windows defragger. You do not want to use anything that moves the pre-boot record, such as Advanced System Care. If you are going to send the machine to HP for service or replace any hardware, please decrypt the hard drive and uninstall Symantec Drive Encryption. If you need to work on the machine while the user is not there, you will not be able to remote desktop after a restart. You will need to use the ITS admin password to access the machine at the pre-boot screen, which cannot be done remotely. If you need help with the actual software, please contact Brittany Murray. For more information regarding the Symantec Drive Encryption software, please visit the Symantec Drive Encryption Google site. Please contact me with any questions that you may have.